that we do wine and chocolate tastings, but for this we really broke it down and we really looked at the chocolates and the wine flavors and why they go together. So I think you're in for a real treat. So I'm going to start so that we can get to the chocolate pairing. So Vosges is our company, and our mantra at Vosges is travel the world through chocolate, and I'll tell you why in a second. So Katrina, who Don just mentioned, is the owner of Vosges. And I'm just going to give you a little background about her first. She started at Vanderbilt, and she was a chemistry major there, and she actually was pre-med. And so going from that, she studied psychology and chemistry, but she realized almost when she was through her education that her true passion was cooking. She, when she was a kid, she owned her own, but, she peddled her own little easy-bake oven cakes, and she always was into chocolate. So after graduating and thinking about going into medicine, she decided, maybe not, maybe I should just go culinary. Of course, her mother and father were pretty sad about that choice, but so she went off to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, and she studied cuisine and pastry, and she graduated there, and then immediately following graduation, she decided that it would be a great immersion to travel the world, and so she bought a round-trip ticket, and for 8 months she apprenticed in kitchens all over Europe, France, Spain, Italy, Thailand, Korea, Australia, Hawaii. Namely, she worked with Ferran Adrià, who is a super influential chef in Spain, who owns El Bulli. And he kind of dissuaded her from doing what most culinary graduates do and work in the Michelin 3-star restaurants, which is obviously, the MD of the culinary world. And he said, no, don't do that. Why would you waste your time? He said, you should travel the world more. You should sample the food at the street markets and the street fairs. And that's the best way to really tap into the culture and the people that are behind the food. And that's where you really make the connection between the food itself and the region it comes from. So that's what she did, and she continued traveling, came back to her home. She's from Indiana, and still really had no idea what to do. Everyone's been to that point. You get back from college, and your parents are really nagging you to do something, and she still didn't know what to do. So she took a job with her uncle in mail order and was put in charge of buying chocolates for the catalog that year. And this is about 10 years ago. Vosges was founded in 98. And so that 10 years ago, I don't know if anyone remembers, but there was really nothing interesting going on in the chocolate world. It was really caramel and nut and very plain stuff. And she thought, well, wow, there's a real hole here that needs to be filled. And so she founded Vosges upon this concept of travel the world through chocolate, in that bringing the spices and stories of the people from the different regions that she met and where she apprenticed into the chocolate, trying to send a message in terms of inspired by a culture, a person, a place, an architect, a designer, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but giving people little tidbits of information about other cultures and people that she thought she could open people's minds through chocolate, which was a real lofty goal, she always says, but 10 years later, we're still at it. So right now we have a huge, not huge, but I would say we've gone from small to medium, and we have a business that's comprised of 5 retail stores, a mail order company, corporate sales, wholesale, and now events as well. And Katrina is very unique in the sense, and you'll see this when we taste the truffles, she doesn't look to other chocolate companies for inspiration. She doesn't look within the industry. She looks more towards fashion, art, architects, philanthropy, and that's where she gets her inspiration. For instance, we do a truffle inspired by Anthony Gaudi, famous Spanish architect. We do a truffle after Luisa Casati, who is a very influential, you could call her a femme fatale. It's hard to describe. Has anyone heard of her, Luisa Casati? Okay. And we do a collection around The Great Gatsby. We do a collection around music and chocolate. So the idea being that we're trying to take chocolate outside of the box and not make it just something that's food, something that has a higher meaning. A couple other things we're working on, more of building in what we call sustainable luxury into our brand because of this whole mission to be more green, and working on building a platinum LEED certified manufacturing facility, which is pretty cool, I think. So that's a little bit about us and what we do, kind of the cliff notes, of course, because I want you guys to start eating chocolate. So I thought next I'd talk about, as long as no one has any questions, by the way, please interrupt me at any time if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. This is how, I thought we'd go through how we make our chocolate, preferably. I'm only really looking at truffles right now since that's what we're tasting tonight for the most part. We're going to taste one candy bar, but the first thing we do is we source chocolate from all over the world. And it's kind of a secret, so I can't tell you where we source it from, but all over Europe and the world. And what we do is we make a custom blend of the chocolate. We melt it in our tempering machine, which is that picture on the left there. And then to make the ganache, as some of you probably know, is chocolate mixed with fresh cream. So it is so good for you. You know, we took chocolate and just added more cream to it. And then we use, back in the day when Katrina started, she hand rolled every piece. Now, obviously, when your business becomes a certain size, you can't hand roll every piece in your kitchen any longer. So we use this really neat machine called a one-shot. That what it does is it shoots the ganache and a thin layer of chocolate all at the same time. So there's no shell involved. Some candy companies will actually purchase pre-made chocolate shells and inject ganache, and that's kind of the easy way around it. We don't do that. We make it all at once. And then the rounded truffle molds, which you see here, are they're demolded by our staff. And then from there, those are the demolded truffles. So they look kind of rough at that point because they just have a little thin shell and the ganache inside. And what has to happen after that is they have to be enrobed. So down here I have what I call the chocolate waterfall. So that's I think that's our milk chocolate enrober, and over here is our white chocolate enrober. So we have these lovely ladies that place each chocolate by hand on the line, and the line is a conveyor belt, and it goes under the chocolate waterfall. And then it comes out the other side, and all the truffles are hand topped as well. And then from there, this is my other job. I'm a hand model, so the Vosges hand model. We top the truffles. So this one on the right here is a special truffle that we do just for Mother's Day. And this one on the left, you're going to be tasting. You'll notice this on the center of your plate right there. It's called ambrosia. So they're topped by hand, and then they're all packaged in our signature purple boxes and shipped out. And we ship them all over the world, all over the U.S. And that's kind of our process in a nutshell. Does anyone have questions about how truffles are made? Yeah?
Could you put your paper down so
Oh.
you keep hitting the mic?
Sure. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing